In today's video, we will be talking about species interactions. Now, you may be asking yourself, what are species interactions? Species interactions are the ways that different species relate to each other in an ecosystem. Think about it. How do butterflies and flowers interact with one another? What about whales and barnacles? These are both different types of relationships that can be defined within the realm of species interactions. Let's start with a circle, and we are going to split this circle into 8 slices, with one half of the circle being for species 1 and the other half being for species 2. The relationship between the two species becomes more negative for not just one, but both species as you make your way all the way down the circle. Let's start with mutualism. This is where each species has a net benefit. I like to think of this like my favorite football team winning a game. In that sense, we both receive a benefit. My football team gets a win, and I get a week long of happiness. But from an ecological standpoint, let's think about a flower and a butterfly. Each species receives something from one another, with a flower giving food to a butterfly and a butterfly giving pollen to a flower. These are both positive things for each species, resulting in a mutualism. Now let's move on to commensalism. This is where one organism directly benefits without causing any harm to the other. For this example, let's take a whale shark and a remora fish. A whale shark, once it has eaten its prey, leaves behind little bits and pieces of food, which allows the remora fish to come in and eat those little pieces of food. This is why you typically see these fish circling around whale sharks in dozens. But ultimately, this results in a 0 benefit for the shark and a positive benefit for the fish, resulting in a commensalism. Moving further down the circle, we are going to talk about predation, which is where one organism kills and eats the other. There are 3 main types of predation that we will talk about. The first being herbivory, where an animal will eat a plant species, resulting in a positive benefit for the animal and a negative benefit for the plant. The next is carnivory, where one animal will eat another animal, resulting in a positive benefit for the predator and the negative for the prey. Another type of predation we'll talk about is parasitism, where one organism lives on or in another. Take a dog, for example. Now imagine that this dog has a tick. The effects of the tick are that the tick will suck the dog's blood for food, resulting in a positive benefit for the tick and a negative benefit for the dog, as it can cause disease. The next type of species interaction we'll talk about is amensalism, where one organism is harmed while the other is unaffected. Imagine you decide to buy a piece of farmland. You say, hey, I want to buy some animals to put on this farmland. So you decide to buy some pigs for your farmland, for others to enjoy. But ultimately, this has a negative effect on the grass. As the pigs continue to move, they will trample and destroy the grass, resulting in bare patches, killing the grass. But this ultimately has no effect on any of the pigs. They're not harmed by it, but they also don't necessarily benefit from it either. They're just going about their daily lives. To round out our species interaction circle, we are going to talk about competition, which is when two species compete for a limited resource, like food or territory. In order to talk about competition, we have to split this up into two main forms of species competition. These two forms are interspecific and intraspecific competition. During interspecific competition, this is where two different species compete for the same resource. For example, you can take a hummingbird and a butterfly trying to take the same food resource from a flower. During intraspecific competition, this is where two animals of the same species are competing for a resource. In the case of two male lions, this could be for territory or for mates. Ultimately, this results in a negative outcome for whichever two animals are involved in their competition for whatever it may be. So let's rebuild our wheel with all of our types of species interactions. We start with mutualism, move to commensalism, then predation, then amensalism, and then competition in order to round our wheel out. This is what the circle of species interactions is supposed to look like. These different types of interactions help us better understand how ecosystems function and how each individual can play a role in another organism's life.